hey, good afternoon, good evening. Again, I could easily just come here and throw grenades at Alex Villanueva, but I'd rather just talk about myself. But what better person to actually tell you what it's really like than a chief from the LA County Sheriff's Department who worked with us last year. So my name is Matt Rodriguez. I'm a local boy. I grew up in West Covina. I've been here my whole life. I ran around this whole San Gabriel Valley up until I became a sheriff's deputy, and I began serving. I've been in public service for 32 years. I was the captain in the LA County Sheriff's Department. My last assignment was Transit Services Bureau, and I worked for Chief Jordan there. And we had all of transit at that time. We had the Red Line subway through downtown LA. We had the Gold Line, which comes through Pasadena out east. We had the Gold Line through East LA, the Blue Line into Long Beach, the Expo Line. We opened all these lines, half of them, and now they're gone. They're all gone. You guys saw Alex Villanueva a couple weeks ago double down and say, you either give me all of it or I'm leaving. The reason why is they're failing in that area. But that's something we could take questions on. 32 years, law enforcement captain. I left the Sheriff's Department in 2013. I continued my government service. I went to San Diego. Some of you may know that red trolley transit system down there traverses all of San Diego. I was in charge of security in that for that system. I got called back to come and work in the City of Commerce as a public safety director, which really gave me an interesting perspective because now I'm working from the client side of the contracts from LASD as opposed to the contractor side. So it was a unique experience. I became the city manager there for a period of time, and then as you know, when city councils change, city managers change. I ended up becoming in charge of all of security for the entire Metrolink commuter transit system across all 6 counties. And then I got a call to go up north to Ventura County, and I was the assistant chief of police in Santa Paula, a little city between Santa Clarita and Ventura. And then I was the interim chief of police. I resigned that position to come down for a position in the San Gabriel Valley in law enforcement, high-ranking position that actually was impacted by COVID. So then I ended up taking that opportunity to look after my mother, who's 95, and she'll be 96 in 2 months. So I care for her care. And thank you. So along the way, I did a few things in addition to that career. I have some education behind me. I have a master's degree from USC, from the School of Public Policy. So fight on for you Trojans. And then I also went to Cal State Long Beach, and I got a master's degree from Cal State in Public Administration. And for you Bruins, I got that one covered too. I went to UCLA. I got a bachelor's degree in political science with an emphasis in public law. And for those of you who are fans of community college, I have an AA degree from Citrus Community College in the Administration of Justice. I also raised 3 kids that are level-headed and doing really well in their lives. So it's been a real thank you. It's been a real experience. So why the LA County Sheriff's Department race? So I'm sitting in the middle of the pandemic. I'm watching the George Floyd fiasco and tragedy, and then the cities are burning down, and I'm on the sidelines, and it was a little frustrating because I could see some areas needed help. And I have experience in that. I was in the Rodney King riots. I was in down South LA in 1992 when those riots started. We didn't have any foresight that it was even going to start. We just went out in the field like every other day, and then that was the one night I thought, okay, I may not make it home alive tonight. So I got a chance to see communities that have been traumatized. And so I have a really balanced perspective on, I started this race kind of driving the middle. My son said, drive the paint, Dad, drive the paint, go up the middle. That's, and so I was trying to be safe. I'll be honest with you, I was. And, I was talking about balancing and, respect-based leadership. So I created this respect-based policy, and I still stick to that. That's, those principles are never going to change. We need to help people in communities of color as opposed to go out and violate civil rights and hurt people. But here's the reality. The reality of it is I've never seen Los Angeles County in the dire straits that it's in now. Yep. When you look at the homeless situation, I grew up going to Dodger games. I grew up going to USC football games, UCLA football games, Angel games. I've never seen this before. Homeless encampments on the freeways, adjacent to railroad spurs, on the embankments, on the riverbeds. I've never seen this. I know what it's related to, and the chief touched upon it. 30 years ago, I could say about 1990, 32 years ago, methamphetamine hit the street. And it was the first time. And I would love to go back, although I got enough education, I shouldn't go get a PhD, right? But I would love to do a study and take 100 arrestees that I did when I was 26 years old in 1990, who were either under the influence or in possession of methamphetamine, and look where they're at today. And I guarantee you, they're either on the street or they're dead, or in jail. So there's a big, I've been kind of hypothesizing about that for a while now, about that methamphetamine is probably the #1 contributor to our homeless. And then I stumbled, actually my son stumbled across an article, he shared it with me, that right after, somewhere in the mid-90s, late, maybe early 2000s, they changed the chemical in methamphetamine. They used to use ephedrine, I don't know if you guys know that, as a precursor. Ephedrine was a precursor to manufacturing that drug. When the government began regulating ephedrine, they used a different chemical, I think they call it P2P, they used it in Mexico. It creates full-blown psychosis in people. And that's what happened. I shared that with Chief Jordan, the aha moment for him, the aha moment for me. And we said, we knew it, I knew it. I said, I knew that that drug had something to do with the explosion of this. So the crisis with homeless, I might as well get to the point with that, because there's about 5 topics that we get hit on. I don't know if you've noticed, but Caruso is running on 2 issues. Homelessness, well actually crime and homelessness. That's it. And then he'll talk about refunding LAPD too. That's it. So everywhere I go, I've been doing this for 14 months, and everywhere I go, crime, homelessness, George Gascon. Hold on a minute. So let me just start with crime. There's a 100% increase in homicides right now. There's a 100% increase in violent crime. The gun crime is out of control. So you know what, son? I'm not driving the pain anymore. I got to go over here. The rule of law candidate who stands for the rule of law holds criminals accountable like I have my entire adult life. No apologies for backing law enforcement from me, because I grew up, my dad was a sergeant, the sheriff's department, my brother was a sergeant in the sheriff's department. Between the 3 of us, we got about 100 years of service in law enforcement and public safety. No apologies for the blue line you see in my paperwork. You'll see it when you leave here. And so we are going to back law enforcement. And we are going to motivate them to get back to work. And we are going to motivate them to hold criminals accountable to the rule of law. And look, if you're homeless, I have the biggest heart for homeless, probably along with the chief, one of the foremost experts on the West Coast, because in you get really good at dealing with them because they attract the transit systems. That's how they go from point A to point B. So I saw them here. San Diego was 10 years ahead of us with this homeless explosion. When I first got there in 2000, homelessness, very empathetic, very humanistic toward it. But what is the crux of that issue? Mental illness. Period. I don't know, I can't give you the percentage because I'm not out taking notes, but I gotta say 60, 70, 80% of them have some sort of a somewhere. So the lack of those facilities is huge. Okay, so we need to build those facilities. They need to knock down that LA County jail, build a mental health facility with some sort of incarceration capabilities, so we can hold people who are pre-sentenced in conditions for the inmates. So that's a fact. So crime, we got to hit it hard. I'm sorry. There's no other way. Gun control laws, that's not going to cut it. Okay, I'll tell you why. Up in Sacramento, that shooting that happened recently, all those guns, I think they've identified 5 or 6 shooters. Not one of those guns was purchased legally. Not one of those guns was modified legally. Several of them had illegal ammunition in them. So you can put all the gun laws you want in place. Those dudes are still shooting each other. And those guns are stolen anyway. So those make no sense. So when I told the LA Times that I'm your rule of law candidate, the only Republican out of 9 candidates in this race, who wants to loosen the standard for concealed weapons permits for the good law-abiding people in this community, they went, a Republican? Why? Why are you a Republican? Literally, that's what she said on the Zoom, one of the moderators. And then they said, are you suggesting we give everybody guns? I said, I'm suggesting that I shall issue them to people who abide the law and who have been abiding the law their life and who are not. And they wanted to take me to task on that. So then she said, well, you just want to arm everybody? I said, well, are you suggesting that the guy that just recently got ripped out of his Ferrari in Beverly Hills and pistol whipped in the middle of the street, are you suggesting I just leave him unarmed? And then she said to me, well, what do you think a possible outcome of that is? I said, well, you could have 2 dead suspects. I said, that's a possibility. You know, I'm sorry, find a new line of work if you're going to be a criminal and you don't want to get somebody evening the playing field for you. Because, when I'm sheriff, I will even the playing field for the good people of this society. All right. That's just the way it is. So, the sad part is 100% increase in crime, 100% increase in violent crime, homicide. Sheriff's deputy arrests are down 40%. So why? Why? Because we have a DA named George Gascon that will not file cases, okay? And he's also the godfather of Proposition 47, which is where they decriminalized over 100 felony offenses, and they took away our ability to put drug addicts and drug abusers and drug salesmen and petty thieves with priors, and raised the ceiling to $950 from $400. All of these bad laws for our society, which I believe were couched under the guise of Safe Streets Initiative. So George Gascon is not filing these cases. That's why I am the only candidate, other than Villanueva, who signed the recall petition. Okay? Nobody else did that's running for sheriff. I did, and I went on social media and said, hey, check this out. This guy's got to go. And but why are the deputies arrested down? Because the sheriff has demoralized them. Literally demoralized them. They're exhausted. They're running on 70% capacity because he's been defunded. And I goes up in Santa Clarita with a group like this, and they said, well, yeah, because they're all Democrats. And I said, but he's a Democrat. So there goes your argument, right? But why the pivot in his part into the right lane? Why the pivot? He was put into office by the progressive Democrats. He said, I'm the only Latino in the race. He bumped off career lawman Jim McDonnell. And then what happened? 2 years into his term, the Democratic Party said, hey, we want you to step down. They called him a sheep in wolf's clothing. And okay, well, all right, people change, became maybe more conservative, but why won't he denounce his Democratic, party? He will not do it. He will never do it because he's a lifelong Democrat. I've known the man. I ran with him for a lot of years personally. We were good friends. Not anymore, but we're competitors now. But he won't do it. He's not going to denounce the Democratic Party. He's actually stepped into this lane. And how did he do it? He went to Venice. He put on a cowboy hat, which is crazy in itself, and started talking real tough. And signed the recall petition against George Gascon. But let's talk about that for a minute. We all remember Jackie Lacey, okay? Jackie Lacey was the law and order DA, okay? She also was the pro-law enforcement DA. And when Black Lives Matter stormed on her front door and her husband had to come out with a handgun to protect her household, where was Alex Villanueva? Nowhere. Where was Alex when it came to endorsing her? Nowhere. Where was Alex when it came to helping her in the political fight of her life? Nowhere to be found. We've seen him on a debate with Jim McDonnell saying, well, one of the problems is that we don't have a DA that prosecutes enough deputies. He said that. So yeah, that's a true story. We could show that to you.
Yeah, put on the website, please.
Oh, we'll do that. Chief Jordan, that exists, right?
Exactly. I was there. I saw him say it. I double checked it. He absolutely said it was regarding a legislation in Sacramento that Democrat Skinner was proposing to change how we did force. And she wanted, instead of what was reasonable, she wanted only if it was necessary. Jim McDonnell spoke against that. And Alex Villanueva said, well, Skinner, a extreme liberal, extremist, she's a little wrong on that one, But if we had a DA that would prosecute deputy sheriffs and police officers, we'd be okay.
Yep, he said it, and it's on video. But what do I say about George Gascon? I signed it, but I don't care. I'm going to motivate the deputies to make arrests and hold people accountable. Alex Villanueva is running around, and he says, I don't arrest homeless people. Well, you know what, I will.
Yes.
I'm sorry. If
I'll
you're,
help you.
you know what, if you're out here, look, I love South Pass, I love Pasadena, but if you got a guy out here who's accosting people as they're walking by, going to Cheesecake Factory or some of the finer establishments here, sorry, dude, you gotta go.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you have to go. We'll get you to the mental facility of we'll do it humanistically, we will do it constitutionally, we'll do it respectfully and ethically with principles and values, and they'll be treated with dignity and respect. But there's got to be rule of law, or we might as well all just roll it up and go somewhere else, because this place is going to be Escape from New York or something, you know? Or what are these movies, World War Z or whatever? I don't want to live in that society. This is LA where I grew up in. I love this place. But it's changed immensely. So if we don't get back, like she was saying in the introduction, to getting back to law and order, holding people accountable. And you know what I'll do with George Gascon? Every single arrest we make, there'll be hundreds each day, we're going to put them on the website. I'll have Matt's daily George Gascon report.
Yes.
And you'll see the deputies arrested 60, 70, 80 people yesterday, and here's what George Gascon did with them. Release, non-file, until this community says out, goodbye, and they vote him out of office. We have to do that. Somebody has to motivate these deputies to get back to work. They're demoralized. They're exhausted. They're working 80, 90, 120 hours of overtime a month, because they've been defunded. But why have they been defunded? I've been in this business for 32 years. I've never known the Board of Supervisors as a group to be anti-public safety, anti-law enforcement. But let's go back to what happened when he first took office. You guys might recall, he tried to reinstate a deputy who had been fired for domestic violence. Remember that? Wow. Carl Montoya, very well established. He was on video terrorizing his girlfriend in her home. Why did he expend all of his political capital on one deputy at the expense of 10,000 others? Because that deputy drove him around during his campaign and put 60,000 miles on his car. That's what happened. That was his driver. They made a deal. And he blew all of his capital. And then he doubled down, tripled down, quadrupled down on that particular guy. We're now at like $7-8 million in litigation against the board for this one deputy. He's not there. He's out of the organization now. And then this fight with the Board of Supervisors, that's all you hear come out of his mouth, has become personal now. It's no longer political. It's very personal. The Sheriff's Department is the only department of all like 30 departments in LA County that has a hiring freeze. Yet they have a budget surplus. Why? They can't stand the guy. They can't stand him. And it's not just them. The DA can't stand him. The Civilian Oversight Commission can't stand him. Inspector General can't stand him. He's trampled on the city's feet now. All of this stuff, he got really upset at me the other day on the Zoom CBS thing, because I said, why is he in the city? Why is he in Venice? Why is he at Olvera Street? Why is he going to Hollywood when our unincorporated areas are a mess? Why? Because there's a mayoral race on this particular primary. And everybody knows most of the voters are going to come out from the city of LA.
Yeah.
And he wants them to go right down that ballot and go, that's that Alex guy that's cleaning up our city. Check. That's the only reason he's there. Have you guys have been paying attention? These are law and order folks in this room. Have you ever seen a sheriff on TV every day? Sherman Block never did that. Lee Bach didn't do it. Jim McDonald didn't do it. Peter Pitches didn't do it. Eugene Biscaluz didn't do it. This guy's on TV 3 times a day because he can't run on his record. Because there's a 100% increase in violent crime, 100% increase in homicides, defunding of the organization. You can't run on the record. So yeah, how about we do this? How about we just get the stakeholders together? I'll lock them in the convention center at LA Convention Center, and I won't let them out until we have some real solutions, okay? Let's build upon what's working. Let's throw out what's not working. Let's identify the nonprofits that are making millions and not delivering. Let's identify this stuff, and let's just solve problems. I don't need to be the guy that goes out pointing architects of failure, like he likes to say. I don't want to point out architects of failure. My whole life, I've been a collaborator, team builder, teamwork, problem solver, intelligence-led policing, instructor and leader, respect-based and, interpersonal communications. I pride myself in all that. what are we gonna accomplish by pointing out architects of failure? It's not gonna happen. So we might as well find out what's working, build upon that, toss out what's not working, and try to put a fix. I'd love to partner with Caruso. This guy sounds like he knows what he's talking about anyway. I don't, regardless of who we're endorsing or anything, but the guy I'm like, yeah, get stuff done. You know, let's get it done. You know? Yes, sir.
In listening to your resume,
Yeah.
I really like it.
Thank you.
Two major reasons.
Okay.
One, you have a great history in this background,
Right.
okay? And you have a lot of it, so that's, you have the practical side. I did some work for the sheriff's department a long time ago, and it was how much money can we spend as opposed to what can we do?
Yeah, what he's getting at is the fact that I've been in city management and I've been in high levels and I've done budget and I've done personnel, and that's what he's getting at. And you're absolutely right. I have put together a city budget. Chief Jordan and I dealt with an $86 million budget in transit and had to deal with 600 personnel. And I don't know if any of you ever had 600 young men or women, you know, testosterone charged and excited working for you, but they get in trouble a lot, you know, and you have to mitigate all of that. But like you're talking about, the business side of things is personnel. Personnel, 80% of your budget is dedicated to personnel. The other 20%, we get to figure out what we're going to program and what's the most effective. So I appreciate you bringing that. It's not about money. It's not about greed or notoriety. Those of you that are football fans, I'm like the offensive coordinator up in the booth calling the plays. I feel more comfortable with that. And when we score, I celebrate with my coach next to me. And then we let somebody else go out front and center and be the head coach with all the cameras in his face. So I've had to really step out of my general role in being kind of in the background to do this. But what really charged me, it's not about money, notoriety, fame, power, or anything like that. When I saw my beloved sheriff's department that I grew up in, and was going since I was this big and visiting, wounded and ailing, and the only thing you hear about them is deputy gangs everywhere, you know, and you know, that's another issue that I'll address. But it's really hurtful when you see that. Defund the police. They're the enemies. They're evil. The sheriff's department are a bunch of gang members and they're a bunch of, you know, Neanderthals. No, they're not. They're working noble jobs. Sometimes they get killed in the line of duty. I've been through all of that. And somebody has to come and fix this problem. So that's me saying, hey, Dad, he's up there now. I said, hey, we're going to do our best. I'm going to leave it all in the arena. I've been at it for 14 months full time, and nobody expected us to still be standing. And now that we're here as your conservative rule of law candidate, I'll get to your question right now. With really the respect for what? Respect for the people. And I don't care where you come from, rich or poor. I don't care if you're liberal or hardcore Republican. I don't care if you're an immigrant who just got here yesterday. I don't even care how you got here. Okay? But there's a few things you need to know. Everybody gets treated with the dignity and respect that they deserve. So it's respect for the people and the community, respect for law enforcement, and respect for the rule of law. That is the triangle that my platform is built upon. Let's talk about ICE for a minute. Alex Villanueva took ICE and he kicked them out of the county jail. Boldly did that, okay? And he will not cooperate with them unless they go to court and get some sort of an order that says, hey, we got to deal with this. And how do you think ICE wants to go to court every time they want to get a guy and have Alex fight them? No. So here's my policy. You're going to love it, okay? You come to this country, because this country was built on the backs of immigrants. Let's just face it, right? And you come to this country to make a better life for yourself or a better life for your children, and you're minding your business and you're doing your job and you're working 2 or 3 jobs or whatever it is you're doing, then my job's to protect you.
Thank you.
Okay? However, when you decide to leave that box and go into the box where you're now a violent felon, and you're raping and robbing and pillaging and terrorizing this community, your new sheriff, Matt Rodriguez, I will grab you and I will march you right to ICE and I will say, return this person back to their country. You know what? I'm not ashamed of saying that. that. Nobody else will say it, so I don't really understand that part of it, why they won't. Because to me, it seems logical. And one time somebody said, well, you know, the Board of Supervisors doesn't like that. And I said, well, if they have an extra room in their house, I'll be interested. And if you worked hard and you bought a Mercedes or a BMW, you don't have to hide it in the garage. You know, and if you happen to wear a Rolex, you should be able to wear your Rolex if that's what makes you feel good. You shouldn't have to hide it because you're worried somebody's following you home and targeting you. And the chief was right. I got great support from the Asian community, Latin community, Christian community, you know, and Armenians, it's off the charts. And I've got a lot of support, but it's always for the right reason. The Asians, hate crimes are up 76%. I committed to George Soros and think we could all live in peace and harmony and not hold anybody accountable, just give everybody everything. But it doesn't, that is not the reality of this world. The reality of this world is, look, the reality of this world is there's evil in this world, okay? I saw Richard Ramirez in the county jail, okay? I saw the most evil human being in the world. I had to babysit him in the county jail. There is evil. And the only way we're going to beat evil in this world is to have faith in God on your side to help you beat that evil. That's what you need, okay? That's where principles of God. Treat everyone you want to be treated, be respectful, dignity and respect. But let's face it, criminals are going to be out there and they're going to do their thing, and they better come up with a sheriff that's going to handle it, and that's me. And the guys that are going to be protect society. That's why I'm in this business. That's why I'm running for sheriff of LA County. That's why I'm in South Pasadena and I'm not in Palmdale, because I don't speak that language, okay? I don't speak the defund the police, hate the police language. I'm here because I love what we do, I love what you do, and I want to protect what you do. So I'm here. Any questions? Fire away. President policy expert on almost everything. So if I can't do it, he will. Yes, ma'am. Well, she was first, right?
No worries. So it's a little tangential, but I appreciate your platform of respect. How about respect for life? Because where I'm going with this is that the sheriff actually gets to be kind of a bully pulpit.
Yeah.
And actually gets to speak deaths. So babies that are born 7 days after birth, their deaths are no longer being investigated, and if law enforcement investigates, they're open to being sued. It's AB 2223.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that, but to me, if a baby is murdered after it's been born, somebody's going to jail.
What they're doing is they're going to euthanize the baby of 28 days, possibly.
That's not
for
law.
birth defect.
Well,
Yeah,
is it-
that's the thing
It
they're
hasn't
trying
gone through, hasn't gone through.
Hasn't gone through, but it's already. I can only talk about what I know that's on the books today. You kill a baby 7 days old, you're going to jail. That's it.
It's up to 30 days.
Yes. But I understand where you're going.
Well, Lisa, I guess I just want to know, like, where is your stance on life, and what would you do about it? Because I mean, this is in committee right now. You're correct. It hasn't gone through. It's actually in the Appropriations Committee now, but it did just pass the Health Committee.
Okay,
And
I'll
so
tell you what it is.
how would you speak to that as sheriff?
There are 2 points, and that question you asked was interesting because it could be taken in a lot of ways. Like if you go to some places, they go, "What's your position on life?" Right? That means, what do you think about deputies killing people? That's what they're. So here's my position on all of it: the sanctity in human life, for human life, the reverence for human life. Is the only 2 points that you need to know. I'm going to teach the deputies the sanctity of human life and having reverence for human life. That's talking about in a less lethal format, but it applies to what you're saying too. Because if there's a 7 days old, somebody's murdering it, and that law is not on the books, they're going to jail.
What if the law is on the books? Because it will pass, quite frankly, unfortunately.
You don't know. Not if I get in.
I don't believe it. I
So
don't believe
anyway,
it.
I hope that answered that, but there was another question.
Yeah, okay.
It's not that long ago, I'll say in my day even, we used to just take them, no, I won't say I did it, but people did it, to the border of the next city, right?
Yeah.
You know, hey, this guy's in Carson, this is where I work, I went, Gardena looks like a better place for you to live. That's in essence what they're doing, but they're just doing it on a national level. They're giving it, can you imagine there's a guy in Texas, okay? They give him $1,000, put him on a Greyhound and say, go to LA. When you get off, go to Venice, because there's all kinds of services there. You'll get to sleep on the beach, California dream, and that's what's happening. Villanueva talks about it a lot because he's out there, and he has the data. People are coming from other parts of the country to accept our services. So how about we just,
How do we stop that?
how about we just take them off the streets and there are no services on the streets anymore? Yeah, I mean, we gotta put them somewhere, so this problem needs to be addressed. I'm willing to work with whoever these new, stakeholders are, but I think it's fair to say that whatever's been happening, because I've been dealing with the homeless count for a long time now. Every year it goes up, 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 up. So, whatever we're doing now, whatever politicians are in play now, they're failing.
Why don't they work with those other states and send them back to their homes, to their states, to their families?
I think there is some of that. They try to do the, reunification with the families when they contact them. All of these homeless individuals are dealt with on a case-by-case basis. But, you know how it is. Oftentimes, I've seen him in Covina or Commerce where I work. He burned out the family. He stole from the family. He stole from the sisters, the brothers, the aunts, the uncles. Now he's not even allowed in the house anymore. And then he's burned out the locals who have actually tried to take him under his wing. And now he's just becomes a vagrant, and he's now vagabond and mobile. It's a tough societal situation. Yes, sir.
Okay. You know how right now how Republican kind of dividing the vote between you and Alex wherever because of the mask issue.
Okay.
Mandate,
Yeah.
because of mandate. Okay. So there's a law from Sacramento telling the sheriff, like the new law SB, if they pass SB 1464 or
So when is they gonna reinstate the mask mandate?
make sure arrest.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
What happens if those kind of law approved, and what will you do?
okay.
You know which one he's talking about?
No, I know exactly what he's talking about. Let me just address this with this mask mandate and vaccine mandate, okay? I am vaccinated, so I'm not an anti-vaxxer, okay? I got vaccinated because I was worried, middle-aged, a little bit of weight, and all this, right? Living with my 95-year-old mom, let's just be prudent, okay? But then I got COVID, okay? After the booster. So I'm like, at that point, everything's out the window. I don't know whether that shot saved my life or is killing me. I don't know. And because I don't know, I'm not mandating anybody, I'll tell it right to your camera, I'm not mandating anybody to get a vaccine. Anything that comes out of a needle, not happening. And not only that, I'm not even going to ask the deputies whether they're vaccinated, because it's not my business, because they have their HIPAA rights to privacy. Okay, so I'm not even going to ask them. Okay, so I will protect those deputies to keep their jobs in any way that I can. I'm sorry, I'm not mandating anybody to get a shot, and I'm not mandating anybody to tell me whether or not they've had the shot. But I will tell you this, and I don't know if Burton's still in here. There he is. There's a deputy sheriff that is running around. He's running for office. His last name is he's Asian. Suh, right? He's Asian. Vincent Tsai. Vincent Tsai is from the Men's Central Jail, County Jail. He's a deputy sheriff. He's only been on a few years, 4 years or so. He refused to wear a mask, and then he filed a lawsuit against the County of LA, and Villanueva relieved him of duty.
Really?
Period.
No way.
Yes.
I
Burton. Okay, Burton Brink can attest to that because he's been on the campaign trail because he's running for some office now.
Or Senate.
He's running for Senate, and his whole platform is on his constitutional right, okay? Your constitutional rights. That,
We know that.
so that, you didn't know that?
We know Vince.
Okay, well, ask him what happened and why he's at home, relieved of duty because he wouldn't wear a mask, and he sued the county of LA. So, does that answer your question? I hope so, because I'm not, again,
yeah, because once it become a law and you're a law enforcement, it's kind of like you are in between the law and the people.
I'm not the health department, I got people getting murdered. Mrs. Avant got murdered in her home in Beverly Hills. The UCLA student was murdered in her place of business. The nurse was murdered on the bus bench. One of the guys involved with my campaign from South LA was shot 20 times and murdered about a month and a half ago. I don't have time to be going around knocking on doors. And let me remind you of this too. You guys remember in the beginning of the pandemic, Villanueva was going to large house parties and he was threatening to take everybody to jail. And he had a famous quote. He said, "Don't go visit your family on Super Bowl. It's the Super Bowl, not the stupid bowl." Those were his words. So I'm just reminding you, okay, because sometimes people like to rewrite history. And I just want to straighten it out. I've been to Santa Clarita, I've been to Tujunga, I've been to Covina, I've been to Glendora, I've been to South Pass. Everywhere I go, I have to educate them. And I'll tell you why. The conservatives in LA County, they were like a sponge, just waiting to hear somebody say something that they could attach themselves to. Right? Just waiting. And then when Villanueva said, "I'm the guy with the cowboy hat in Venice, and I'm anti-mask," and all that, that's my guy, right? But when you hear the truth about him, hopefully you do your homework. Sir.
So I know that you're still testing deputies.
Yeah.
It says that you basically wipe it on your butt or your shoe and doesn't care, right? But he won't, I guess, publicly in the theater.
Okay, let me tell you about that. Okay, if a deputy gets vaccinated, tell me how much sense this makes. This is Villanueva's policy. If a deputy is vaccinated, he's free from testing. Okay, is that, you got that? Free from testing if he's vaccinated. If he's not vaccinated, he has to test each week.
Yeah.
Okay, but I got COVID and I was vaccinated. And I was contagious, right? So what sense does that make? Because I can be vaccinated, let's say I'm a young deputy, I've been vaccinated, I have COVID, but I don't have to test because I'm immune from that now because I got vaccinated. It's another way to force you to vaccinate. And here's one more thing that you might not know. When he asks you whether you're vaccinated, not to put you in the Fulgent database, which was, Chinese communist run, right? But he created his own database.
Yeah.
When he asked you to go in, the first time you refused, it was a written reprimand. Second time he asked you, it's a 15-day suspension. Third time he asked you, you're getting terminated. Period. That's his policy. That's his policy. But you know what? It's a lot of theater, like we talked about, and there's a lot of nuances to it and confusion. But I'm just telling you the reality, and I'm not pulling punches with a camera rolling. I'm not lying. I'm telling the truth about everything I know as I know it.
I guess my ultimate question is, if they are still testing by the time you get elected, are you in testing?
No, here's the policy. If one person gets tested, everyone gets tested.
Yeah, so.
That's it.
End the testing?
Or it's ended, right? Look, if I have to test the vaccinated guy or unvaccinated guys, everybody gets tested. Or nobody gets tested. Let me rephrase that. Either everybody gets tested or nobody gets tested. That's it. And like you said, they're doing the testing at home. So they get the thing, right? And, stick it in a glass of water. I guess I'm negative. Send it into the... Actually, you take a picture of it and you text it to your sergeant. How stupid is this?
That's what I'm saying. Like, he's allowing them to kind of do
So
bullcrap.
I guess based upon what you just asked and what I just said, I wouldn't do testing that way, put it to you that way. And it's too expensive to do it any other way. So why don't we just get rid of it? We're all in this room together, and I don't think we can be any closer or any hotter.
I would love it if you said you get rid of it.
Los Angeles.
Yes, okay. So it's Los Angeles County, thank you. LA County Sheriff. Now here's what's happening.
We're in South Pass, though.
That's fine, no, LA County.
Passes LA County.
It's not on the ballot yet?
No. Let me rephrase it. The ballots are being mailed out 2 weeks from today. They're coming into your home. Because of COVID, everybody's getting a mail home ballot. So there's going to be 5.6, 5.7 million votes being mailed to the houses. Okay? That's a whole other issue.
You're not on this breakdown.
Which one, what's the date to that?
That's not a ballot. No, I know. It's a primary election.
I should be in there under sheriff.
Can I see it?
I haven't seen that booklet yet.
It's South Pass. I got it to South Pass.
Oh, that's just the South Pass version? What is it?
It does not have the local races, that has the state races.
Oh,
Okay.
okay, that's why.
So you'll be getting a new one? You know what? I got an interesting story for you real quick. You know those booklets that they mail you?
Yeah.
You know how you see a candidate statement in there? If you don't see one from me and the other challengers, you want to know why? $250,000 to put it in English and Spanish.
That's why
This is
I'm
what is so
No, that's for
disgusting.
one column.
That's for me. I got a quote for $250,000 to put a candidate statement in that book. The Board of Supervisors did us a favor, and they're allowing us to do one online for free. But, so there'll probably only be, if I was to guess, Villanueva will be the only one with one there, because he's raised $2 million, because he has a built-in revenue stream, right, with everybody affiliated with the organization and, you know, all the hanger-ons. But yeah, isn't that crazy? Costs $250,000 to put a statement in the question.
Second question, so a lot of the people and,
This is state.
our elected officials
So we're not
feel
on.
have violated.
It's interesting, huh?
Possibly even Villanueva when he injected the homeless people. I haven't, I guess, got the stone yet to just call him out on it publicly, but I've been to a number of town halls. Are you willing to actually, go ahead and try to arrest some of these people?
Well, you're
a lot of
talking-
our group members have like signed affidavits and whatnot, asking for an investigation and, to hold them accountable.
What
for
you're
violating
talking
the
about
rules of office.
is, well, first of all, if you're talking about corrupt politicians that are proven to be criminals, then, I will hand that over to the district attorney for their consideration. But what you're talking about, they had it was called like a home program where they went and gave vaccinations to people at home, children and homebound, it was called. And then you see these videos of disabled people fighting and the deputies are giving them a shot. I would never send my deputy sheriffs out to give people shots. Ever. We're not doctors, we're not nurses. Those guys are paramedics from the emergency services detail. That was purely political theater. Deputy sheriff should not be administering shots unless it's Narcan, which means somebody is overdosing from fentanyl. That's it.
All right.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. So, other questions? Yeah, yes, ma'am.
A couple things here. This is a game of money, and George Soros has funded Gascon and
Yes.
the other. So we're talking about money, and you have to get your message out there. In light of the fact that Elon Musk just bought Twitter for $42 billion.
Woo!
Do you see a sea change possibly coming? Do you hear, do you feel that there is a rising up of people who are fed up with the liberal and the lefty ideas of justice for all, which is justice for none,
Yeah.
the way that they're interpreting it? Do you feel that we are changing? Is it changing?
I do. If I didn't think that, I wouldn't, I would be up here trying to
I
tell
don't
you.
know. I don't know.
Yeah, look,
I wonder.
Look. People are fed up.
Oh, yeah. we
Okay,
all are.
so people that were center,
Yeah.
or even left of center, they've ticked over right now.
Oh, yeah.
So, who am I talking to? I'm talking to the conservatives, I'm talking to the Republicans, I'm talking to independents that are fed up, and I'm talking to non-stated partisan people that are fed up. And do I think that I could win on this message? Absolutely.
Are you going to get on John and Ken and some other?
I did 2 hours on
When
KFI.
did you do that?
I did.
Oh, good.
Go to my website.
Okay.
I'm on KFI for 2 hours. Ted Nugent came on, helped me talk about CCWs and the Second Amendment. Then this guy named Johnston from Orange County that is the #1 trainer in people with CCWs. He came on, and I gave my conservative message on the radio. Chief Jordan came on with me. And the reason I was on was because Villanueva had free reign at KFI.
Yeah.
And then I filed a complaint and asked for equal time.
Good.
They gave it to me, and then they kicked him off the radio. Because they didn't want to give me equal time anymore. I went on for 2 hours in a row, and I went back, and KFI said, "You're here again?" I said, "Yes, I am. And I'm going to be here every time he's here." And then they kicked him off.
Can you get on your
Because you talk about the quality pulse, I mean, come on. But you know what? We don't have to get too much into this, but you guys have heard about this use of force and this cover-up and all this stuff, right? But today, the commander filed a lawsuit, and it's all over the news this evening, promised that there's possibility that he obstructed justice and covered up a use of force because the deputy put his knee on the guy's head during the George Floyd Chauvin trial. Keep an eye on that, because that's going to be very problematic for him. I'm not going to run on that. I'm running on what I do, but it's in the news today. He's in the news a lot anyway. Do you elected official?
No, no.
Oh, okay.
I'm just a pissed off neighbor.
I thought I heard you say that.
Around here.
But go ahead, your question.
So my question, well, the next question is, so again, I guess you didn't really address, are you going to, I guess, empower the citizens to actually ask for the corrupt officials who violate their oaths to be held accountable? right now, you know, everybody's kind of ignoring our affidavits and our requests to work with us.
Violating an oath
Yeah.
and committing is it in the same line as committing a crime, or is it just an ethical, they're not.
Well, considering they lied to everybody and said, hey, get a shot, you won't die, and some people died. Yeah, I'd say it's, you know, violation of oath. You know, we don't have long lenses informants and much money to, you know, to investigate ourselves necessarily.
I don't think I'm gonna be, I don't think I'm gonna be arresting people on either side of that shot issue. Look, I'm be honest, I'm moving on from COVID. I don't know about you guys, but I've been living in this city. Start with Fauci.
Yeah, we do have control over the county.
No, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
No, but what I'll do is I will implement common sense practices. I'm not gonna go out and enforce shots. I'm not enforcing mask mandates. I'm not closing restaurants. I'm just not doing that stuff. I got bigger fish to fry.
Well, to put it to a stop, you have to stop all testing, and also you must recognize religious and health beliefs. Like me, I've never been vaccinated. I come from a Baptist southern, we're never vaccinated, and I'm not going to be. Well, I was only tested once by accident because I had a slight fever when I was at the doctor. It was for my hearing in my ear, and it was. And anyway, so I had to get tested, you know, and I did. I tested negative, but that's a chemical. I've been told. I didn't know this.
Definitely not.
Yeah, something, but I did it myself, so I had to make it go away there. So anyways, I just, but I don't want anyone to be tested. I have, and also, there must be a recognition of natural immunity. I have natural immunity. I have not caught COVID, or I probably, well, whatever, I have strong immunity, and I've been around people that had COVID, so I didn't catch it. So I have natural immunity, which developed from birth, you know, from my parents.
I have another question. Is there anything the sheriff can do regarding election integrity?
Yeah, good question.
They run the election, or they guard them.
Well, the only thing I can tell you is I will have people at the registrar's office watching every ballot.
Really?
Yes, as they get collected and counted. I will have ballot observers at the registrar's office. Be personal.
That's critical. That's
Yeah,
really,
well, I
that's
mean,
really
come on, look, I don't wanna get into the whole,
I
you know,
understand.
election fraud, but it is an issue, isn't it?
It is a big issue. Okay.
All I can do is play by the rules that they gave me, and I'm gonna do my best, and I'm gonna leave it all in the field, so that way, win, lose, or draw, I know I did my best to make this community better, and that's really all I wanna do.